Wednesday, June 6. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, Member of Parliament for St. Andrew West Rural, has moved a motion in the House of Representatives aimed at allowing Jamaican women to safely secure abortions. The Jamaican law now criminalizes any attempt at an abortion, with women who attempt to terminate a pregnancy facing the possibility of life in prison. Those who assist in the process can be imprisoned for up to 3 years. But moving the resolution Tuesday afternoon, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn said the government had an obligation to provide women with access to safe and affordable options for the termination of pregnancies.
And whereas all parliamentarians in this honorable House have a moral obligation to ensure women can enjoy their personhood without interference, and whereas the government has an obligation to give women who need to procure an abortion with access to safe and affordable services for the termination of pregnancy, be it resolved that this honorable House considers the recommendation of the Abortion Policy Group, which was established to provide guidance to allow women the right to choose. Be it further resolved that this honorable House takes steps to repeal Section 72 and 73 of the Offences Against the Persons Act and substitute it with a civil law titled Termination of Pregnancy Act, as a recommendation by the Abortion Policy Review Group in 2007.
Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn said the House of Representatives should consider implementing the recommendations of the Abortion Policy Review Group, which suggested the issue of abortion should be dealt with under civil laws instead of under the criminal law. Starting next January, the government will enforce restrictions on the use of sugary drinks in diets of students and public health patients as part of its efforts to stem growing obesity in the country. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton made the announcement in Parliament Tuesday during the sectoral debate in the House of Representatives. Dr. Tufton says his ministry, as well as Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, will be working with the manufacturers and distributors of sugary drinks to provide the policy guidelines on what the requirements are for the products to be allowed in use.
So, Mr. Speaker, starting next week, we will meet with the manufacturers. We will explain what these guidelines mean in terms of what is a per serving allowed amount in terms of those drinks that are available, and they will have to conform to those guidelines, reformulate products, use existing products that may be available, use local products, but effective January 2019, sugary drink will be restricted as part of the response to the obesity crisis in our school system.
He said that manufacturers would need to reformulate their products using other products that are available.
And let me just say to the manufacturers of sugary drink, we're not beating up on you. There was a time when we were talking about tobacco, and that conversation continues and will continue, as I will explain later on. Alcohol, overconsumption, abuse, problems also. But frankly speaking, the time to talk about the impact of sugary drink on our population is now, and it is our responsibility to start that conversation. We invite Mr. Speaker, we have dialogue with the manufacturers, and we're inviting them to come and let us talk. And it has started. And many are responding already. A number are voluntarily adjusting their formula, adjusting their drink to reduce sugar, recognizing the concerns of the population.
Dr. Tufton's announcement comes 2 days after the Medical Association of Jamaica opened its annual conference in Kingston, at which obesity is the focus. It was said that 60% of adults are overweight or obese, and 67% of deaths in Jamaica are linked to obesity. Education Minister Ruel Reid has announced that there were improved performances in 4 of the 5 subjects used for testing in the final sitting of the Grade 6 Achievement Test GSAT. The subjects are language arts, communication task, science, and social studies. The overall students' mean percent scores for language arts, communication tasks, science, and social studies showed improvement over the previous year's performance by 1%, 5.5%, 7.9%, and 1.6% respectively. Addressing a press conference at the ministry on Tuesday, Minister Reid said the government of Jamaica is pleased to have on record an increase in students' performance in these 4 areas, especially communication task. Peter Bunting, Member of Parliament for Manchester Central, has raised concerns about the action taken by the administrators of the Programme of Advancement through Health and Education PATH against students who have missed a certain number of days from school. Under the program, students receive between $1,350 and $2,100 monthly to attend school. But Mr. Bunting pointed out that almost 70% of the money would be withheld from students who do not attend schools for the required number of days. Speaking at Tuesday morning's PAC meeting, Mr. Bunting argued that this action punishes the children instead of their parents. PBCJ understands that the management of China Harbour Engineering Company CHEC met yesterday to discuss the issues which triggered the strike by workers on the Mandela Highway Improvement Project. It is expected that the company will craft a response to the strike by workers. The workers have been off the job for the last 4 days to demand increased wages and better working conditions. The Union of Clerical, Administrative and Supervisory Employees, which represents some of the workers, is awaiting CHEC's response. Meanwhile, there is financial fallout from the CHEC workers' strike. Small business operators in the ferry area are complaining that the work stoppage has affected commercial activities. In regional news, education, culture, and social issues are at the top of the agenda for the 43rd Conference of Caribbean Studies Association being held in Havana, Cuba. Richard Richards is there and has the breakdown.
Education, culture, and emancipatory thoughts are issues that have attracted the attention of delegates from over 20 countries, assisting to the 43rd Conference of the Caribbean Studies Association, CSA, which is taking place simultaneously in various saloons of the Hotel Trip Havana Libre in Cuba's capital city and will conclude next Friday, 8th of June. Among the issues debated in this 43 conference of the CSA outstands the Haitian and Cuban revolutions, climate change, music, and the regional present-day situation. During the sessions of this regional meeting, in addition to the lectures, the program also embraces forums, workshops, expositions, concerts, and book fairs. According to declarations of Yolanda Wood, president of the CSA, hundreds of students, academicians, scientists, and artists have converted this yearly appointment, now in Havana, in the largest participation in the history of the Caribbean Studies Association. The CSA is a unique space in which academicians, intellectuals, public servants, and communal leaders share visions and experiences in a concerted effort to push up the field of the Caribbean world education. The humanistic dimension and its social importance are also part of the Caribbean Studies Association program, aiming to favor dialogue and the exchange of ideas between the Caribbean community, including Central America and the South American Caribbean coast. Direct from Cuba, Richard Richards, Canal Caribe.
In sports, West Indies will begin their quest to keep their strong home record against Sri Lanka intact when they face the unpredictable Asian side in the opening test of the 3-match series in Trinidad today. In 3 previous tours of the Caribbean, Sri Lanka are yet to win a series, losing 2 and drawing 1. Overall, they have won just 1 test, lost 3 and drawn 2, reflecting their dismal record on regional soil. Captain Jason Holder said his side would be looking to turn the page on the recent poor results and enter the series with a positive approach. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start as usual with our local currents. We're looking firstly at Kingston. Humidity is high at 70%, and that's because the temperature is a warm 28 degrees Celsius, but it feels like 31 degrees though. Wind speed is north at 9 kilometers per hour. Over there in Montego Bay, St. James, we can expect some rainfall this afternoon, but it's still going to be pretty warm out with temperatures for the day between 23 and 29 degrees Celsius, but we can look forward to cool temperatures at 11 degrees Celsius this evening as the sun sets at 6:33 p.m. Let's take a look at today's forecast across the rest of the 14 parishes. We're looking at temperatures between 29 and 33 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of rainfall for Negril and over there in Port Antonio. It should be pretty cloudy out over there in St. Thomas. And we're looking at our high temps for tomorrow between 29 and 33 degrees Celsius across the island. We're also expecting scattered showers in the eastern end and in the northern areas over there in Ocho Rios and in Port Antonio. In our regional forecast, we're looking at what could be happening across the Caribbean today. We're seeing temperatures between 28 and 35 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of rainfall for Nassau, Bahamas, and over there in Mexico as well. Some cloudy conditions forecast for the eastern end of the Caribbean today. Let's take a look at what could be happening in our forecast for tomorrow. In the Caribbean forecast for tomorrow, temperature set between 29 and 34 degrees Celsius. Is going to be pretty warm out over there in Mexico and pretty warm out over there in Havana. Although we're looking at a forecast of a possibility of rainfall over there in Cuba. We're looking at a possibility of rainfall over there in Santo Domingo as well. But it should be pretty sunny out in the eastern end of the Caribbean. Let's take a look further afield to the United States. We're looking at Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and Atlanta. We're looking at a possibility of rainfall over there in Miami, but warm temperatures forecast. We're seeing temperatures between 24 and 29 degrees Celsius for those areas in Miami. We're looking at sunny skies forecast for Los Angeles and Atlanta. Cloudy conditions forecast for New York. And that's it for the weather forecast. Thanks so much for once again making it PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.